Hi, folks. Welcome back to the Taqiyya Show, where we go through Muslim lies piece by piece and parse out a gigantic compendium of their taqiyya, which is the Islamic word meaning I'm lying to you to further my jihad, my cause. I think half the time they believe it themselves. That's how good they are. It's like a guy who cheats on his wife so much that when she's yelling at him, he's convinced himself that he's innocent, and he's literally outraged, not faking. I talked to a Sikh once, and he said to me, "We have a saying, if you are to take your arm and dip it into a vat of oil and then cover it with sesame seeds, that is the number of lies a Muslim says in one day." I thought, wow, you guys suck at colloquialisms. We have ones like Stitch in Time Says 9. You might want to get snappier with them. But no, I liked his mentality so much that I considered converting, which would have been cool because I could say, "You make me Sikh." But let's check in on this video that Reza did where he's decided he's going to try to brainwash us via fictional television because that's the only way his made-up universe of peaceful Muslims exists in fiction. Let's start with a giant lie out of the gate.
You are, according to the FBI, more likely to die as the result of faulty furniture than by an Islamic terrorist. So you should really be scared of your lazy boy.
Okay, stop. That is true, sir. Furniture, technically, is more dangerous than a Muslim terrorist attack when you run the numbers of the 420 million people in America or wherever your country is. Yes, it's statistically small. It's very unlikely I'll be raped, but I'm still against rape. I'm not a fan of MS-13, but the odds of them attacking me in my suburban home are next to nothing. You don't have to be specifically personally under duress to be justified in being concerned about this scourge that is radical extremism. 1 in 4 Muslims in America between the ages of 18 and 25 think suicide bombing is sometimes or often justified. That's real high. And this I blame on the death of math. And this could be these Marxist teachers who've been brainwashing our kids since birth into all kinds of crap, including new math, where 2 and 2 doesn't really equal 5. The next thing you know, kids, young people, millennials, and even lots of adults don't understand the concept of disproportional, okay? When you look at terror attacks, there's this many Sikh attacks, there's this many right-wing attacks. Then there's the Muslim ones. Then there's the Hindu ones. Then there's the Armenian ones. Do you understand? Your group seems to be overrepresented in terrorism. Not all Muslims are terrorists, but pretty much all terrorists are Muslim, which is why when you see something like a maniac driving through Times Square, you go, "What was his first name? What was his first name? What was his first name?" It's not Muhammad. Okay, whatever. It's not indicative of a pattern. And you guys are forming a pattern. And the 1 in 4, by the way, in America is pretty much as good as it gets. Go to Pakistan, Jordan, go to Indonesia, go to any other Muslim country. And as Ben Shapiro points out in his brilliant video, which I must have sent to 1 million people, The Myth of the Peaceful Muslim Minority, it gets up into the 60s, 70s, 80s when you include those other countries. So we have the most tolerant Muslims, and the numbers are still pretty bad. So we are going to let a few 100 million bad apples spoil the whole bunch, Reza. But let's continue with your blatant lies. Secret life of Muslims.
For a very long time, really the only Muslims that you saw on TV were the Muslim villain.
Stop. Already stop. Total and utter horseshit. In fact, movies are so scared of showing Muslim bad guys, which when we're doing international terrorism like James Bond type of stuff or Die Hard, yes, they should be Muslim. But you're watching Superman 3 and they're about to blow up the Eiffel Tower, and who's blowing it up? I don't know, a German or a Frenchman. There was French terrorists. In the new Rambo, the terrorists are like Filipino or Milanese or something. They purposely avoid doing Muslim terrorists. And even the show, what's that called? Hometown? Showtown? With, what's her name? Cameron Diaz? Showtown. Home Run Town. Even that show, they have Muslim terrorists because they have to. It's a show about Muslim terrorism, and they still hedge their bets and have the actors saying, "White men are evil." So, yeah, guys, you disproportionately represent terrorism in the world, so you should be represented as terrorists in movies. But we don't do that. We only do it sometimes, and I'm sure here you are, focusing on the few times someone has the balls to make the terrorists Muslim.
Allahu Akbar, and then blow himself up.
Yeah, that never happens.
And then there was like the good Muslim. So you have that great movie Body of Lies. You're like, oh, look, it's a Muslim guy who's good. He's like with the CIA. No, he's dead. Like 3 minutes into the movie.
Stop.
He's done.
Stop. No one kills more Muslims than Muslims, okay? So that does represent the truth. And if anything, you want to criticize America? I think we treat our Muslim allies terribly. The guy who discovered Osama bin Laden, the doctor who went in there and swabbed so we had the DNA test perfectly, we abandoned him after. We let him blow up, basically. I think he's in jail now, but that's the same up there in Pakistan. So, yeah, again, you haven't said anything reasonable yet. But let's keep going. And one other thing, by the way, I think TV has brainwashed a lot of people into thinking that the racial demographics of America are different than what they are. America's like 75% white. It's about 14% black. The rest is Hispanic, except for 5% that is reserved for everyone else. Hawaiians, Native Americans, Muslims, Iranians, Asians, Chinese, they're all stuffed in that tiny 5%. Even Jews are barely 3%. So this idea that, hey, how come I turn on the TV and I don't see me? Well, out of 100 people, you should maybe see one Muslim. Okay? Go ahead.
In the 1980s, being Muslim in America was like being Martian. I grew up
Horse shit alert.
predominantly
Stop
Mexican
again.
community.
Stop. Now, this is rewriting history, if I've ever seen it. Iran, before the revolution in 1979, was about as non-Muslim as you can get. It was bacon and booze central. Women wore miniskirts. Women hung out in chemistry labs. They listened to rock and roll. Women took boxing. They didn't need a wali to tell them whether they could drive or go to the hospital, as they do now. So these so-called Iranian Muslims are Persians, okay? And the reason that they're in America is because Muslims fucked up Iran and ruined the country. She would have had to wear a hijab if she was back in her home country. But we took them in. We took them in. Guess what? You're welcome. How about some gratitude? These Muslims escape a country that they just ruined, and they go, when we got to America, not a lot of people looked like us. Oh, sorry. When I escaped from jail, I was the only one wearing an orange jumpsuit. Everyone else had nice clothes. I wanted to have a romp hymn. Go ahead.
So I just told everybody I was Mexican.
Oh,
I didn't
poor
really
thing,
know
he was
that
a
much
minority.
Spanish. I knew like orale, and I just like would throw that out every once in a while. Orale, and people would be like, "Oh, you're obviously Mexican."
Actually, you know what he's doing right now?
It's very important.
Could you pause it here?
Yeah.
He is assimilating very well. He's assimilating into the Western whiny liberal. He's actually done a great job. That chord's annoying me. He's done a great job of assimilating into American culture. He's just another whiny liberal playing the victim. When I immigrated to Canada, I had a gay accent. I said, hello, everyone. Oh, I'm awfully chuffed to be, because my parents lived in a rich area in England. Poof, poof, poof. Had the crap pounded out of me until I was like, hey, how's it going? Hey, Maggie Longclaws is pregnant. What are you guys doing? You grabbing a 2-4? The thought of complaining about that is unfathomable. Of course I was a minority. I came from a country thousands of miles away. That's what happens when you go to a place you're not from. Anyway, go ahead. Let's hear more about this poor baby with different hair.
Muslim thing on the down low as much as possible. I was longing for a way to express myself spiritually. And so I started reading about Islam. I started reading the Quran.
Can you pause it again? Sorry. This has happened to the Sarnav brothers. This happened to the Jamaican who was part of the London bombing. This has happened to that Jamaican. The black kid in Ottawa I was talking about in another video. We keep getting these guys become more Islamic than their parents. And I believe it's these Marxist teachers. They sit there and they say, your country sucks, America sucks, America sucks. The parents don't think that. You look at pictures of this guy's dad. He's got mutton chops and bell bottoms, and he's like, I am loving rock and roll. Let's party down. This is my kind of place, guys. Hey, you guys want to slam dance? Oh, it hasn't been invented yet? Okay, I'll wait. But then the kids, they want to rebel, and then they end up listening to their Marxist teachers, and they go, hey, I talked to my uncle back in Lahore, which is Urdu for the whore, and I learned that, yeah, they're right, we are evil. And there's a thing you can join called jihad, where you fight back against this evil empire I've been learning about in school. So we radicalized this little turd. Good work, teachers, you fat, lazy pigs. Go ahead.
I realized this is what I already believe. I just didn't know there was a word for it.
Yeah, it's called annoying.
Reza Aslan.
Reza Aslan.
Reza Aslan. Reza, let me start with you.
Interesting thing to
The
choose
hardest
for
part
your
for me
montage, your
when
fucking
I'm
name.
being interviewed is to tamp down my astonishment.
The question at the bottom of the screen that everyone is looking at. Does Islam promote violence?
The
Pause.
thing that's mostly
Pause. I love how the left is so sure of themselves that all they have to do is present our side and just say, can you fucking believe I was even asked that? No, they don't have to answer it. They just have to show that our brains dared consider this. Now, I've been through the Quran with Robert Spencer, did a video on at least 10 examples where the Quran advocates for violence. It was written by a warlord who was on a death march, okay? It was basically written by Genghis Khan. Yeah, it's going to be a violent book. And I know the Old Testament is violent too. We have a 2.0. We updated ours, okay? And we took out the mean parts. Your mean parts are your whole book. And as Robert Spencer points out, by the way, you just flip through it and put your finger down and you'll find violence. So before you roll your eyes at Don Lemon, the Cadbury egg, who's super liberal, by the way, why don't you prove that Islam isn't inherently violent? And good luck to you, by the way. Go ahead, Reza.
going through my mind is calm down, calm down.
The justice
Just
system
pause
in
here.
Muslim countries.
Who the fuck are you? God? Someone asks you a question and you have to tell yourself to calm down because you're so offended by that question. Anyway, keep going.
You don't think is somehow more primitive or subjugates women more than in other countries.
Did you hear what you just said? You said in Muslim countries.
Please don't generalize about 1.7 billion people in the world.
Yes, I think I will.
So why did you write a book about the founder of Christianity?
Just, sorry, pause here.
Well-
Pause. Muslim women are treated worse than Christian women overall. And yes, let's pour the whole billion in there. And I don't think you'll find anywhere more sexist than Muslims. In fact, their judicial system, Sharia, is based on sexism. Or, sorry, at least sexism is a central spine of the whole thing. Our Magna Carta doesn't talk about beating women if they don't fuck you. Sharia law does. It makes their testimony half. You put them in garbage bags, for fuck's sakes. Don't tell me that it's respectful to be in a burqa. It's black polyester in the Middle East. Polyester's plastic. They're in a garbage bag. I'm not exaggerating. It's a plastic bag. Sorry, that's not empowering. No matter what Linda Sarsour tells you, hiding your face, hiding your hair from God is not empowering. It's subjugation. And here's what he's going to do now, by the way. You just saw that book, Zealot. He wrote a book about Jesus called Zealot. And can you believe people thought he was criticizing Jesus and he was a Muslim who might have an axe to grind when it comes to Jesus Christ? How dare they? I mean, the gall of this guy. He's a devout Muslim who just talked about how he's always been, it's in his bones. And even though he escaped a country that was ruined by Muslims, he writes a book called Zealot about Jesus. And he goes, can you believe these people thought I was biased? God, what a bunch of dicks. And this is him explaining why he's quitting media and interviews, because people are so rude.
To be clear, I am a scholar of religions with 4 degrees, including one in the New Testament and fluency in biblical Greek.
The Fox News video, that one really touched a nerve. I woke up the next day and realized I had 10,000 new followers. I mean,
Who were
everybody was
Muslims?
talking about it.
Who are Muslims that appreciated your
I got a
bias,
lot of
by the way,
positive comments
against
from
Jesus
people,
Christ?
Muslims who were saying, you know, for the first time, okay, now we have proof of how we are being dealt with all the time. This is what it's like.
Can
to
you
be
just
Muslim in
pause?
America.
I've noticed this, by the way, with Muslims in Israel. Like, they sit there and they go, can you believe, look at the streets here. Look at the streets in this country. Now, this is because it's the Muslim part of Tel Aviv or whatever, Jerusalem or wherever they are in Israel. We don't get the same kind of benefits that the Jews get in this country. You're in an Arab country. They're at war with Islam, an ideology, a religion, and you're pissy about that it's not nice enough in Israel. Israel has Muslims in the parliament, and they're sitting there going, I think the roads should be a lot better here. in this Jewish country that's surrounded by a fence to keep out Muslims because Muslims keep attacking them. And you talk to Muslims all over the Middle East and they go, yeah, I'd way rather be under Jewish control or any other country's control than Muslim control because it's more dangerous. I've even heard Egyptians, Muslims saying, we're actually glad you pillaged all our artifacts because they'd be gone now if they were in our hands. I mean, we saw what ISIS does to Buddhist statues, although we're starting to develop these habits too where we eradicate history. But anyway, Muslims are better off anywhere but in Muslim countries. You want to see a mosque get destroyed? Go to Pakistan, where an imam farts during a sermon or looks the wrong way at somebody. It's gone. So the idea that this guy is in a country where he represents 2% of the population and people don't lick his feet and wash his toes with their hair like Jesus is just... I mean, imagine a white guy doing that. Imagine going to Japan and just going, can you believe this shit? It doesn't fit in our brains, waving American flags in Japan. Fuck this, we're not speaking Japanese. You guys are a pain in the ass. We're wearing our shoes indoors. We hate your paper walls. Look how flimsy they are. Poof. All right, go ahead.
America.
Way to go. People tweeted me.
The negative stuff, however, was much, much louder.
Oh, no. A 14-year-old
I've
yelled
got
at you
an
on
entire
Twitter?
file folder of just death threats.
Death threats from 12-year-olds. Oh, yeah.
After
Muslims
about
don't know
10
anything
years of
about
being
death
Caitlin
threats.
Needs' favorite Muslim.
There's no such thing as a
I've come to the
fatwa.
realization that I don't think it's doing any good. Bigotry is not a result of ignorance, it's a result of fear.
Wrong.
And fear is
Stop.
impervious to...
Islamophobia is a rational disease. The only problem with the term phobia is it implies it's irrational. Islamophobia is the rational fear of Islam and the disproportionate number of Muslims who at least tolerate terrorism, who tolerate suicide bombing and think it is sometimes or often justified, okay? It's not prejudice, Reza. It's post-judice. And your frustration here is that your rhetoric is at war with reality and numbers keep kicking you in the ass. The facts are your enemy. Truth is your enemy. And it's hurting your Taqiyya stampede campaign because facts speak louder than lies. But go ahead.
to data. Fear is impervious to information.
No, fear
The only
comes
way
from
that you're gonna
information!
dissipate that fear is by getting people to know someone that they're afraid of. In this country, we went from overwhelming majorities who were against same-sex marriage to overwhelming majorities supporting same-sex marriage within the span of a couple of years.
Yeah? Because you annoyed us to
What
death.
changed people's minds was will and grace.
I love this
Was
part.
modern
Stop.
family.
Says who? It's sort of like the EPA. Air is getting cleaner, and then the EPA starts here when air was already getting cleaner, and they go, see? The EPA made the air cleaner. You're welcome for this government bureaucracy. And this guy just pulls out of his ass, was Will and Grace. Dude, we've been drowning in homos for a long time. Ever heard of Liberace? Ever heard of the Village People singing about how much they love to blow each other at the YMCA? Ever heard of Paul Lynn? Hi, boys. Ever heard of, what's his name? Not Rip Torn, but the other Rip guy with a big mustache who looks like me? Ever heard of Queen? Freddie Mercury dancing around in ballet tights, screaming opera. We're familiar with homos. What happened with gay marriages? It started dominating the lexicon. It started dominating entire campaigns until we said, we will let you get married if you promise to shut up. Please, please shut up. It's exactly like Obama. We'll give you a black president if you promise to shut up about race, okay? Can we drop it if we give you 8 years of a black guy? No, they just went way louder. But if you want to pluck Will and Grace out of the sky and make it determined federal policies, okay, nice, unscientific, random darts at a thought board. Go ahead.
Was watching people who were gay on television being, you know, normal. They're struggling with the same issues that you're struggling
What do you
with. They
think
are
we thought
human
of gays
beings.
before those shows? That they were
And
animals?
so for the last few years, I've decided that what I'm going to do is try to change people's minds through pop culture, through film and television.
Ah, you mean fiction.
Stories have the power to
Fiction.
break through the walls that
Of
separate
data.
us
Just
into
stop here. By the way, I wanted to go back a little bit. He says, we think this way, not because of data, but because we don't know any Muslims. This is a common thing in America, and maybe it's because I'm from Canada and we get out more. We travel more. Only, I think, 2/3 of Americans have passports. But they're a very parochial bunch, the Americans, and maybe they don't know a lot of different types of people. I've known Muslims my whole life. I've known Hasidic Jews my whole life. I am, again, it's post-Judas. I know that most Muslims are good people. Most of the Muslims I know that are cool people eat bacon and drink. In other words, they're not that Muslim. But as far as devout goes, globally, with 1 billion people, we're seeing a problem here. And if you want to talk about the canaries in the coal mine that is England, where Tommy Robinson was just run off the road, where you get arrested if you, not only do they not arrest rapists who have prostitution rings where they fuck children, but if you were to question this or interrogate those guys or bother those guys, you go to jail. You get arrested. That's what Tommy Robinson is facing. He's in trouble because he wants to expose the rapists who attacked this woman because no one else is paying any attention to that case, and it's because she has a working class accent and some tattoos. That's what's going on in Britain. I don't want that to arrive here. I like that we only have a lazy boy as far as my personal safety right now. That's not the way it is in Britain, and that's not the way it is in Germany. That's not the way it is in France. So the coal mines, the canaries in those coal mines are dead, as we say in Scotland. I don't want this canary to die. That's why we are so careful about your tiny number growing, because we've noticed that mo Muslims, mo problems. But yes, let's hear your plan to use fiction to help purport your taqiyya.
Few years, I've decided that what I'm going to do is try
I'm
to
sorry.
change people's
I'm
minds through
sorry.
pop culture.
Isn't this amazing that he's Iranian? Of all the Muslim countries, it was a utopia when it was secular, right up to 1979. Then a bunch of communists came in, said, we're going to take over the country. They just put imams in the government just as a temporary placeholder, the way we might with priests, or they thought, they're good, we'll just put them there, and then we'll have a real government later on. Right now, we got to fight these guys. They win. The imams go, no, we're not leaving. And you need a burqa on, and you need to shut up, and you need a curfew, and this and that, and the Sharia, and this, and the Ayatollah Khomeini, blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, they got hostages, and they're kidnapping, they're hijacking planes. So your Muslim experiment was a complete catastrophe. It's the reason you had to leave Iran. You come here, and you go, we don't like Muslims enough here. Why don't we have a communist revolution, get rid of the government, put some imams there, and see how that works out? Then where do you go to? Then you'll go to Finland and go try it there? I don't like that pattern, okay? That's called ruining the earth. But keep going, Iranian and fucking American.
Try to change people's minds through pop culture, through film and television. Stories have the power.
Pause one more
to-
time. This is the reason Iranians call themselves Persians, because they don't want to be identified with post-79 Iran. They're so ashamed of their country since it became Muslim that they say, I'm Persian. I'm from Persia, not Iran. I'm from 1979 and before. I'm with the miniskirts and the women's in chemistry labs driving around and listening to rock and roll. That's called American. Your parents came here to be American. They don't want a Muslim country. We don't want a Muslim country. And after giving up on using data, because data kept slapping you in the face, remember he said genital mutilation is only an African thing? No, that's the only places we have the data from. Saudi Arabia doesn't really tell us how many female clitorises they cut off. And by the way, nice culture. You think women are too horny? If anything, they should be adding clits. I would like 2 on the front and 1 on the back. Cutting off clits. God, you're stupid. Genital mutilation is a problem all over the Middle East. We tend to only have data on Africa because, I don't know, we were able to bully them into telling us. And it's also a problem in Western countries that embrace Islam. We're now seeing it in Britain. We're going to start seeing it all over the Western world. And it is fucking disgusting. I don't like your culture, Reza. We're not stronger. Diversity is not stronger. Does not make us stronger. Multiculturalism is not a strength. Okay, we've got Chris Christie trying to say it's okay for you to marry a child. That's not enriching us. That's making us worse. You're taking us back to the Old Testament because Muslim culture is 500 years behind us. So when you enrich us, you just throw us in a time machine. Anyway, we'll hear the end, but you know what he's going to say.
Break through the walls that separate us into different ethnicities, different cultures, different nationalities.
No,
different
not
races,
races.
different
No,
religions,
cultures.
Because they hit us.
You're here
at the
because our
human
culture's
level.
better. Anyway, God, that guy's annoying. Fucking annoying. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to Rebel Edge, where you can find all the videos that are exactly like this one, but different.